I'm Liam McClendon and this is Dragonheart.
Well, welcome to Dragonheart. It's an old school Dragonheart. It's just me and Mark today. How are you, mate, after that amazing win on Sunday?
I am very, very happy after that amazing win on Sunday. I mean, it's a shame that after Bill, he looked a bit too much like a good host, and so you've had him removed. I think that's a little bit worrying. But yeah, the performance on Sunday was magnificent. And although I think a lot of people are quite down after Torquay didn't take anything off Stockport, I don't think that changes an enormous amount. It's still going to go down to the wire on Sunday, I think.
I 100% agree, and I've got my own opinions on it as well. And it's not as doom and gloom as most people probably think. So
I'm looking forward to this.
So let's not waste any more time, Mark. This is Dragonheart.
I'm Aaron Hayden, and this is Dragonheart.
Well, Stockport. A word I don't want to say after this week. I want to be over and done with. I'm sick of talking about that team in blue who are in Greater Manchester. It was us playing them last Sunday was a magnificent showcase of what both clubs, I think, have the potential of. I think, looking at it as a neutral, hearing the noise from both sets of fans, let's just separate our allegiances aside, Mark. I think what an occasion, what an atmosphere. That should have been a League One playoff. It shouldn't have been a National League playoff.
I think in a couple of years it may well be. I really do. I've said this before. I think there is a natural rivalry developing between two local teams who have both made serious investments and I think have both accumulated League One quality teams in the National League. And, I think it would be appropriate if us two go up because we've really, I think been the best two teams by a distance in the league. I think we're better than them. But, they've been utterly outstanding too. And it was fantastic and really whetted the appetite for getting big crowds into the racecourse in the Football League when we make it, to have a proper away support as well as that terrific Wrexham home support. It was a brilliant occasion. And I've got to say something about the pre-match music because you were sitting next to me in the press box and about 20 minutes to go before kickoff, something like that, you rightly complained, why are they blasting music out when the atmosphere was so good? And to be fair, soon afterwards, they did knock it off, didn't they?
Yeah.
Somebody else must have been thinking the same thing because the atmosphere was so crackling at the start before the match. All you had to do was let the fans make the atmosphere, never mind sticking generic music on. It was fantastic, wasn't it?
Oh, exactly. And I think with big games like that, when we're playing like Kings Lynn, in fact, the Kings Lynn game this year was really good because it had all the Welsh music. But when we're playing, lower teams where there's not a great deal of atmosphere, I don't mind the music being on to an extent. But when you've got two huge teams who are creating a lot of noise, when the stands are pretty much nearly full and the loud singers of both sets of fans are in their seats, turn the music off. It was crackling. And I just felt it was a shame when it was like Black Eyed Peas in the background and you couldn't really get properly into it. I thought it was a crying shame, but it did get turned off. But the atmosphere by both sets of fans, again, hats off to everyone on the stands. It was a real special occasion. But first, I want to go back to this before the game, walk into the ground. And my thoughts going into the game, because to be honest with you, Mark, it was a game I really enjoyed because I really wasn't worried about it. Usually I get quite emotional and it gets to the point where I'm feeling sick and feeling that nervous. But for some reason I thought, you know what? If we lose, they win the league, they're a good side. If we draw, they win the league, they're a good side. And if we win, fantastic, it's still game on. And I just wanted to see the two best teams in the league play each other. And yeah, I felt like I really enjoyed the occasion. For like the first time I've ever watched a big game, I thought, wow, yeah, this is a real satisfying game of football to watch.
Well, I often feel sick and nervous before Wrexham games, but that's because I'm about to meet you. And sorry, you put the ball on the spot. What was I supposed to do? No, it's. I also felt confident and excited before the match, and if I'm honest, because I didn't feel nervous because I really had confidence in us being able to beat them. I know that they had chances in the FA Trophy semi-final, and I know that it was 0-0 going into added time, but we still got those goals, and we deserved to win that game. And it hadn't been for Hinchcliffe, who'd made about 3 excellent saves, we'd have won it comfortably before Mullen scored his goals. Well, since then, our form hasn't dropped off, and theirs has. And so I felt quite confident that we would win the match, and which is why the first 20 minutes, I'll be honest with you, did make me feel a little bit uncomfortable because the first 20 minutes, to be fair to Stockport, I thought they played very well, and we took a while to work them out. The great thing is we did work them out.
Yeah, and for me, when I was watching, I was thinking the first goal is going to be absolutely vital here. And if we can weather this storm, they missed some sitters. In all fairness, Madden should have scored that sitter out by the 6-yard box. They were completely dominators, and we looked completely shaken and nervous at the back. In all fairness, we had, with all the biggest respects to French and Cleworth, they're 2 young lads playing in a huge game. It's going to take them a little bit of time to, and Tozer had a few shaky moments too in that first 20 minutes. It's going to take our back three a bit of time to get used to it, but they adapted within 20 minutes. We didn't concede any goals. And I thought, you know what, the first goal is going to be vital here. And thank God it came to us. And you could see Stockport getting frustrated, couldn't you? And they were getting annoyed. I'm not sure, was the Madden incident on Cleworth before the first goal or after the first goal?
Yeah.
Before, exactly. I thought it was. I thought at that moment, they've lost their heads here. They've had their chances. They've not taken them, and they think they can bully a player like Cleworth because he's young and inexperienced. And that was just complete frustration by Madden, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think there was a lot to unpack in that first half hour. I thought I did think as well. I mean, it played into the fact that that's what's happened to them lately, and when we've seen them on TV when things haven't gone well for them, that they've suddenly. And I hate to say I told you so, but I remember us talking about this and saying this at the time, just like with Boreham Wood. I think us beating Stockport just made them face up to their own mortality. After that wonderful run, they suddenly realised, things can go wrong. And it seems to me that in recent games, when things have gone wrong, they have maybe, I don't want to say panicked, I think that's too strong a word, but it has knocked them off kilter, whereas previously they were confident. And yeah, first 20 minutes, they should have been ahead. It's funny, actually, when I edited the highlights afterwards, they didn't actually, I didn't think, have as many clear-cut chances as it felt. At the time, I was like, oh, gosh, they're really cutting into us here. But like that Madden chance, and the one he had in the second half when he just slammed it way over, I thought were the only really clear-cut, well, and Quigley going one-on-one with Dibble. And Dibble handled that so well that the danger felt like it had gone away very quickly. But, it just felt that even before our goal, after about 25 minutes, we started to get on top of them. We started to move it around. And also when I was worrying about it in commentary, Neil Williams was commentating with us, and he said quite rightly, but they can't keep this pace up. They were really throwing themselves into pressing us, and it was a very well-organised press, which I think I've referred to before, where they were blocking off the passing channels, and it was good, and you could see players at the back for us suddenly thinking, we like that passing arc that we work on all the time, and we can't do it because they've seen it and they've blocked it off. But we were patient and we kept doing what we do. And although we had a couple of close squeaks where Tozer was right to continue doing what we do, but his passes were under hit, the fact of the matter is that ultimately they did slow down a little bit. And once we started to get out from the back, we never looked back. And I think you're right. Things like Madden trying to clobber Cleworth is an example of them starting to lose it a little bit. And the timing of that is that I thought Cleworth did ever so well in that incident anyway, because I thought Madden was definitely going to get there. Cleworth gets across him, wins the throw, doesn't do anything to Madden. Madden reacts like that for no reason. And the throw-in comes in and is cleared for another throw. And that's where we start to put the pressure on that will lead ultimately to the first goal. But yeah, it was a bit of a turning point, wasn't it? I think, showing them getting ratty and rattled. And after the match, Dave Chandler, their manager, of course, basically called Scott Quigley out over it, saying that he knew that he should have been there dealing with that sort of thing, and he wasn't. And it was quite a strange, we may get to, post-match interview by him, which he did dig out some of his players by name. And so, yeah, I mean, on the bench, clearly they were seeing that as a sign of them falling apart a bit. And well, we scored the goal in the grand Wrexham 2022 manner, didn't we?
We sort of did, didn't we? And it was just like, no, this is just what it is with Wrexham. If it's 0-0, we've got Tozer, and we've usually got a big bloke who's good at heading. So if you concede a throw in a good place, he's going to throw it, and it's going to hit either Palmer or Hayden's head, and it's going to be a goal. We got that really strange, unique, and I love it. I used to love it back in the day when Rory Delap used to do it for Stoke. I love this sort of cannon throw that Tozer does, and it's just such a nice little wild card to play, isn't it? And it was the goal come at just the perfect time, didn't it, Mark? And it the place didn't half get rocking after that. The BT mic sort of cut out. It was that loud.
Yeah, I had woolly hearing in my right ear for about a day afterwards because my headphones are mono, and I just, that headphone where the crowd was coming in, I think that's as loud as I've heard the race course, to be honest. It was incredible. I again, another thing that Challoner called his players out over was the defending of that throw-in, which I guess is appropriate or ironic, depending how you look at it, because Challoner is the other one who, when he was playing, was famous for having the massive long throw-in. But I just loved the way, I felt that since Hayden got injured, we weren't looking dangerous on the throws until, well, as Parkinson said afterwards, we changed things around a little bit and got Palmer underneath it, and I just loved it. I mean, Challoner was criticising the way they defended it. Well, as far as I can see, that's down to Hogan, who was dropped for the Wednesday game, because he's man-marking Palmer, he's tight on him, and when the ball comes in, he doesn't really attempt to get off the ground. He just grabs hold of Palmer's shirt and tries to stop him getting off the ground. And as we all know, he made no impact on him whatsoever. He still had hold of him when he scored. And he's just standing there holding on to this bloke who's so strong that he can muscle off one of the strongest centre-backs of the lower divisions, jump up and head it in, and the bloke's just standing there looking at him. Oh, it's just humiliation for Hogan, a player whose strength is his main weapon. But Palmer bullied him.
And the scenes were amazing. And I knew at that point, I think we're going to win this now, because you could see the Stockport body language change, couldn't you?
Yeah.
And then we really started getting on top of the game. And then, was it the second minute of added time, first half? Jordan Davis put a Premier League quality through ball to Paul Mullin. And then when it's Mullin one-on-one, he's usually going to hit the target. 2-0. And at that point, I think it was game over, really.
And I think, I don't want to call Quigley out, but, well, I suppose his own manager did a bit after the game. But Quigley had a very similar chance, and he run down the right channel, and Dibble does the same as Hinchcliffe does. Dibble comes out, gets his angle right, and then he invites Quigley to make a decision. He's saying to you, I've got my angles right. So if you're going to shoot from the edge of the box, you're going to have to nail it into the corner. Otherwise, I've got it covered. So what do you want to do? And he tries to go around him, and Dibble deals with it brilliantly. Then he got Mullin. The only real difference, I would argue, is that Mullin's got longer to run onto it, so longer to think about all the different things he could do and how he could foul it up. That's often what happens, isn't it? They get too long to think about it, these strikers, when they're one-on-one, and they make a mess of it. And Hinchcliffe does the same thing. He gets his angles right. He says to Mullin, go ahead, mate. You're going to need a cracking finish. You're going to have to hit the bottom corner to beat me. So Mullin just hit the bottom corner. I mean, it was brilliant, wasn't it? And I don't believe in this whole...
playing against Mullin.
Again?
Hinchcliffe must hate playing against Mullin,
Yeah.
even though he did do a world-class save from overhead kick earlier.
That was brilliant.
In the game as well. That was that save. The overhead kick was amazing, but that save was incredible, wasn't it? In all fairness to it,
because Hinchcliffe's come out to make the punch, and he's not got very far on it. Although to be fair, he's got big blokes in front of him. But to get back across and still get his hand up, that's fantastic save, wasn't it?
Oh yeah.
He must be sick of
fairness to him. He's a high-quality goalkeeper, isn't he? Probably the best I've seen in the league this season.
I mean, if they'd had a normal goalkeeper in, they would have lost both the games against us much more heavily. Because in both games he made some fabulous saves. And I don't say that lightly, not just decent saves, really top-notch. That there's not many goalkeepers who would make that save from Mullin, for example. But he must be sick of Mullin because he scored in all 3 games against him now. And even though I didn't realise, I didn't even think until I was doing the old Wrexham Anorak thing, that even though the Wrexham Stockport game goes back to the 19th century, this is a proper long rivalry, way before either of us in a football league. But Mullin is equal 3rd top scorer against Stockport after 1 season.
Wow.
So I hope we have a rivalry carry on so they can go top, even though the person who is top is my childhood hero, Jim Steele. But still, go on, Mullin. Get a few more.
Do it. But then, coming into the second half, halftime. I remember on the halftime talk, I was with you and Andy, and I kept on saying, "Oh, we've won it, we've won it, we've won it." And it's not like me to be like that. I kept on trying to stop myself. Like, oh no, we need to carry on as we are, sort of thing. Yeah, if it stays like this. But in my head, we won it, and then another goal by Palmer to start off the second half, and then that was all she wrote, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. It was the Angela Lansbury moment. That's murder she wrote. Mind you, it was pretty much murder what we did to them for the last 70 minutes, wasn't it? I sometimes the footage doesn't quite get across, I think, exactly how things happened. And sitting on the opposite side, right behind that Jordan Davis free kick, you got a much better idea of the action he put on that ball. That was a hell of a delivery. He really ripped it in, and it was dipping in and nasty. And to be honest, I couldn't quite make out who got the touch in the 6-yard box. But what I could see from the way it was coming in was it was likely somebody was going to get a touch on it, and there was very little a keeper could do about it. It was a hell of a delivery, wasn't it? And again, Palmer with a little perfect flick on. And I personally don't subscribe to this idea of, straight at half time or whatever is a perfect time to score. Myself, I don't think it makes that much difference, and I don't think the statistics disagree with me. But I have to admit, getting a goal in the 3rd minute of added time and then a goal 90 seconds into the second half, that killed that game stone dead. I mean, that was over then, wasn't it? Stockport was stunned. The game reflected more how the balance of the two teams, I think, to be fair. And from then on, well, we could have scored more, I think, in all honesty, but we certainly were never in danger of letting it slip.
And the one thing I didn't think I'd hear that day was we want four from the fans behind us. Yeah. It just shows how incredible this team has blossomed into from the start of the season, doesn't it, Mark?
Oh, look at the goals we scored against strong teams. Boreham Woods, 4 and 3. Halifax was 4. Yeah, 4, wasn't it? Stockport, we stuck 3 past them, and at 2. We Solihull Moors are the only strong team, really, who've put up a great deal of resistance against us, except at the start of the season when we hadn't quite got things going. It was, we just, as we all know, we've got goals coming from everywhere. We've got 3 players who've got 15 league goals now. We've got 2 players who scored 20 goals for us this season. And if you add up his Wimbledon goals as well as his Wrexham goals, Ollie Palmer's got 24 goals. That's, we are dangerous. And I just love looking back at previous seasons. Before last season with Luke Young, we had a couple of seasons where nobody got more than 6 goals.
Yeah.
And then here we are now, thank goodness, quite the opposite. We had a season where Akil Wright and Sean Pearson were equal top scorers.
Wow.
And now we've got, I mean, let's be fair. Let's take those three out of the equation. James Jones has got more goals than they did. Aaron Hayden has got more goals than they did. It's not bad, is it?
What Reece? How many's Reece Johnson scored this season?
Yeah, that's true. And he's missed a chunk of the season. And Luke Young is saving himself for when he's needed.
You know, we've got goals everywhere in the pitch, every position. You know, even Cleworth scored an absolute stormer against Gloucester in the trophy. He's got it in him. Aaron Hayden, as you said, has got goals. Ben Tozer attributes loads of goals from all of his assists. You know, we've got three fantastic centre midfielders who can score goals. I'm sure when Tom O'Connor's settled, I'm sure he'll be able to score goals from what I've seen when he's at Burton. We've got such an excellent team, and the only thing that makes me really sad about this side is I think we should have won the league. It's such a shame that we didn't blossom that a little bit earlier, because I truly believe, after watching the Stockport game, and this is very positive for me, I believe we're the best team in the league right now, but we haven't been throughout the season. I think that's what's hampered us a little bit, is we haven't blossomed. We blossomed a little bit, just a little bit too late.
Yeah, and you know what I'll say to that as well. Obviously, it's the transfer window thing, isn't it? We couldn't get the business done in the summer, which is no fault of anyone, and so we had to wait. And once we got the team together, it's just been outstanding. It's a quality side, isn't it? And I'm thinking, you're saying about goals. Let me throw in a name which might surprise you, because he hasn't actually scored for us. McFadden gets in some superb positions when he goes forwards and cuts inside. Now, okay, he's not scored yet, and you might argue he needs to start scoring, but he does get into those great positions, and he hit the bar, flick to the bar at Boreham Wood. So he's clearly got the capability to chip in too. But it's great to see a team that has goals from all over, because it's a while since we have seen something like that.
I'm Luke Young, and this is Dragonheart.
Following from that, we are now going to go into a titleometer. This is going to be the final titleometer of the season, Mark.
Oh,
this is
all right.
For
I think, this is difficult for me, because, to be honest with you, having said how long we win the league, the maths is not on our favour here. It's not in our hands. And my logical titleometer is 3 out of 10, I think, because Stockport have to blow it. Having said that, they may well do. So,
are we still better on goal difference?
Yes, and for us to win this, goal difference is our friend. There's only one combination now, isn't there, that can allow us to win the title. We win, they lose. That will put us on level, and obviously that will make our goal difference better than it is now, and theirs worse, and it's already better anyway. So yeah, basically all we can do is come level with them. And there's a little bit of me thinks Halifax are a strong team who will have definitely something to play for, because they're not third and they need a win, because that third place is a massive advantage when it comes to the playoffs. And so my horrible feeling, and the only thing I think that could really make me feel down about Sunday, is that I've got a little sneaking feeling that Stockport will lose, but we may not win, because Dagenham's not going to be easy either, and they've got something to play for. I just want to see us do our job, and I wouldn't be totally surprised if it does fall our way. Was that?
Do you want to hear my opinion?
I do.
I think Stockport are going to sit around. They're going to sit back. They're going to go for a draw, and I think it's going to hamper them, because Halifax have a lot to play for. The pressure's going to be too much for them. We're going to win at Dagenham. We're going to win the league on Sunday.
Oh, Chay! We've converted you.
We're going to have our Sergio Aguero moment.
I do like that idea. McFadden! Oh, you're right. That's so
Ponticelli!
yes.
It's just going to be fans on the pitch. Well, hopefully not legally. There's going to be limbs everywhere. Honestly, I've not been positive at all. It's probably going to bite me, and people are going to clip this off. But I just have this feeling. I listened to the Torquay Stockport game yesterday. Bearing in mind, Stockport did dominate them. Torquay are an okay side, but they had 10 men and they still hit the bar at the last minute of the game. I think Halifax are a side of a lot higher quality, who have got they're going to be in the playoffs, aren't they? But they need to win to get third, which is huge. Solihull are a good side. They need to get that third position. They're going to be playing with it's pressure, but it's not too much pressure because they're going to be in the playoffs anyway. Stockport have to win or draw. They're going to sit back and play for a draw, and Halifax are going to beat them 1-0, and we're going to win.
Yeah. Oh, mate, come on. Make it so.
I don't want to be too over. Well, I am being very positive, but I still don't. I didn't find Stockport's win yesterday very convincing. Yes, they battered them, but they only got one goal against a side who are sitting mid-table, who have been looking great at times but poor at others. I think they can lose this game.
Oh, I do.
I think there's a big possibility of that.
Yeah.
I think the most challenging part is that we win convincingly.
Well, we only have to win. We don't have to win by any margin. Because our goal difference is already better, and if they lose and we win, it'll just be an even bigger gap. But it's just we can win, and I do think that's tough. Dagenham are a decent side; they're in very good form. So,
no, I 100% agree. They are a good side, and they spoiled our day last season, didn't they? Last game of the season. You know, I'm not taking Dagenham for granted again. However, this is a very different side. I think I'm very confident that this team can win. And yeah, say if we do win and Stockport win or draw, it's not the end of the world. We're going into the playoffs in fine form, and that's the most important part. And I wouldn't fancy any team to come to us and beat us. And the only side that I'm really worried about come the playoffs is Solihull, because they are a side in excellent form who are, you know, when we played them home and away this season, have been a really tough test. So even if we don't win and go up on Sunday, I'm very confident the depth we have in this side and the quality we have all around the pitch, we can go up via the playoffs.
Absolutely, I agree. I was going to briefly say as well. I mean, it's Mental Health Awareness Week this week, and obviously we know that Dragon Chat is terrific, and there's some great stuff from Steve Lloyd on the club website as well, and videos by him talking about mental health and how to look after yourself. And I've been thinking about that in relation to the fact that it's a well-timed week, because people were getting stressed over the title race. Yeah. And you know, you see people getting wound up on social media, of course, and I just think, yeah, this is a good chance maybe for us to point out how we should look after our mental health when we're getting stressed about footy. It is only a game. I know people get angry when I say that, but it is. It's not real life. It's a game. And also that I think we need to, as Wrexham fans, we're in a wonderful situation here to keep a bit of perspective and stay calm. There's no need to get overly panicky about Sunday, because firstly, it's not in our hands. So we don't have that pressure to perform. Secondly, as you rightly say, if we don't do it on Sunday, we get another chance, a home game, and then if we win that, a neutral game. And we are the best team in the division, so we should stay calm about that. And I've said this before, and I always say, I hate saying it, but it's true. I desperately want us to go up this year. But even if we don't, next season, we'll have 3 or 4 more top-level players, like we've been buying throughout the season. And we'll keep this squad. And even though it'll be a crying shame not to get up at the first attempt, next season would be huge fun, because we'll just be setting loads of records and beating people week in, week out. And although I don't want that to happen, you know, in terms of mental health and trying to stay calm and keep things in perspective, the truth is this time next year, we'll be in a much better place than we are now. And if we're not in that football league, we probably will be, because we've been guaranteed promotion. So we need to stay calm, be happy, and enjoy, be mindful of what a fantastic moment in history it is to be a Wrexham fan.
Yeah, I'd have to completely echo that, Mark. And there won't be a Stockport next season, and there won't be another side who beat us in the semi or the final if we don't go up. You know what I mean? So it will be without two less really good sides. So yeah, I 100% echo. And the mental health awareness, you bang on right, Mark. I think football's this generation it's become a lot more stressful than it's ever been, because you're constantly on your Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and you're getting football content 24/7 if you want it. And you know, there's fans winding each other up on Twitter. If it's bothering you, if it's getting to the point where football is bothering you rather than if it's bothering your life rather than making your life better, uninstall Twitter, stop looking at football things.
I'm Jake Hyde, and this is Dragonheart.
So I guess it's ended up being kind of a disappointing week for us since the game against Stockport. It was a fantastic result. After that, I was quite impressed with the performance, the way we handled the occasion, and I just said the title barometer was about a 7, just because we had to rely on their results. I've got no doubt that we'll do the business on Sunday, but then it's been knocked down to about a 5 because of the way Torquay ended up not being able to provide the goods for us. We've got to rely on Stockport losing, and we've got to win. There's no two ways about it now. We know the permutations. We can only go and do the job that we need to do. But I just think it's a big ask, isn't it? But come on, the town.
This is Sean Brisley. This is Dragonheart.
Well, if you've been paying attention to anything Wrexham, the Daily Post, Wrexham AFC, anything on Twitter, I'm sure you've heard about the levelling up funding that we're applying for through the government. Mark, would you like to give a quick rundown on what it is to people who don't know?
Well, absolutely. There's basically Wrexham County Borough Council applied for funding and were unsuccessful in the first instance, which was a bit of a surprise, because basically it's a Gateway to Wrexham funding. That's a bigger one. Gateway to Wrexham project, which is basically going to do a lot of work, giving a facelift to the area around the racecourse. And I think it was felt that we've got a very, very strong case to be approved. So we've reapplied, and it's absolutely crucial that it's given a go-ahead. The government will make a decision in the summer. I mean, the fact that the campaign is called Stadium for the North tells you something. Obviously, this funding will bring a great deal of benefit to the town. It'll transform the entrance in to the town from the Mole direction, but also it'll be necessary for us to make sure we get that 5,500 seater stand at the Cop End. It'll be necessary to make sure that we get international football back at the racecourse. And so because of that, we need to make sure it gets through. And so everyone needs to sign the petition, which is being spread around. It's change.org/Stadium North. And we need to get behind it massively. There'll be all sorts of improvements to the area. There's going to be a 400-space multi-storey car park built as well. There'll be groundworks put in for a convention centre and for a hotel. It's private money as well as public. We're not asking public funding for all of it, but it's something which is going to be massively important for a town which has not been getting the funding it deserves, and also for a club that deserves a bit of a break, let's be honest. And so yeah, I really would urge everybody, for the good of the club, for the good of the local community, sign that petition and show the government that we really, really are serious as a town about this.
Well, Mark, I 100% echo everything you said there and 100% agree. However, I'm going to play devil's advocate, or another podcast I really like to listen to. They say devil's avocado. There's a lot of fans, opposing fans of different clubs on Twitter, on your social media saying, well, why, you've got two really rich owners here. Why are you asking the government for this money? Why are the taxpayers footing the bill? What would you say back to them?
I would say I understand the question and I respect the need to have a fair answer to it, but I do think there's a fair answer to it. Firstly, Rob McElhenney and Ryan Reynolds obviously are very generous owners, but what's making things work for our football club isn't them throwing money at us. It's them having very well thought through tactics and ideas of how they're going to grow the club. And the reason I am excited by their ownership, when in the past I've not been excited by the idea of people pumping money into a football club, is because the problem with people just throwing money into a football club is it could go pop, especially if the people who are putting the money in go away for some unexpected reason, like Roman Abramovich, who, according to the Price of Football, was writing a cheque for £30 million every month to underwrite the wages because they were spending more money at Chelsea than they were bringing in on wages alone.
Wow.
Ultimately, that means that in the end, you go out of business unless you can find another billionaire to buy it, which Chelsea, fortunately for them, have done. Now, McElhenney and Reynolds, as I said, have been very generous, but they're not running the club on the basis of they're a cash cow and we can milk them. Instead, what they're doing is, yes, they are making investments and they're boosting us up, and things like bringing in players that, that are high quality. Yeah, they're helping with that. Yes, they're putting money into infrastructure. But what they're also very notably doing is they're using their connections and their celebrity to bring in funding. And so that the more, how shall I put this, the more mundane deals are worth more. So think of ways the club's now making more money outside of any money coming in from the owners. We have a front of shirt sponsor who obviously is giving us a lot more than Evo Williams could. Evo Williams were brilliant sponsors and still are, but clearly TikTok are going to pay a lot more for the publicity. We've got Expedia on the back of our shirts, for heaven's sake, major international brands. Expedia sponsor Liverpool and Wrexham. TikTok just sponsor Wrexham. These are major deals. So our sponsorship deals are built up better. Our commercial wing is able to make more money out of the fact that we are a hot ticket, and we're a hot ticket. We sell out now. So we're getting terrific crowds coming in compared to what we would normally be getting or what we would otherwise. So there's a lot of revenue being raised by our success and the success of our owners rather than the owners throwing the money in. And part of that is that we are entitled to make the same sort of funding bids that other football clubs do and other football clubs would. Like I said, there will be private money coming into this as well, and the owners will be putting their hands in their pockets, and in doing that, they will be fulfilling that desire they stated to help the local community. They will be putting money in to a project which partly will be funding facilities for the town, not for the football club. So they absolutely, they're not just taking a handout. I totally understand why fans of other clubs say that. Totally get it. But they're not just taking a handout. They're doing what all of the clubs are able to do. And to be fair, look around at wealthy clubs. They still take advantage of funding schemes. Look at, for example, the the furlough scheme. Now, I know there was a big stink about that because Liverpool applied for it and they pulled out when they realised it was a bad look. But that's an American hedge fund, or invest. Maybe I shouldn't say hedge fund, investment fund. But the government's attitude was, why are people being critical of them? Because it's there for big companies. Lots of big companies in Britain took advantage of the furlough scheme. Wealthy Man United, if they do bulldoze Old Trafford or if they refurbish it, Arsenal, who are going to refurbish their ground, they're not just going to pay for it themselves. There's no way they would do that. There are football trust grants available, all sorts of different grants available. You go for it. That's how you run a business. You take advantage of the opportunities you have, and then you put your hand in your pocket for the rest. So, I do understand, but we're doing what every other football club would do. So there's nothing wrong with it, you know?
Yeah, I 100% agree. And, you know, a lot of the fans who've been complaining have been fans of similar clubs, you know, of a similar level as us. The one thing we have over them is that we can hold international football games and rugby games. You know, these clubs can't because England aren't going to play at Chesterfield or Stockport, are they?
No.
That's the fact, isn't it? And it's really important for our own country in Wales. You know, and I from what I've heard, I think the Welsh government seems to be backing it. Is, you know, it's really important that we get international sport back up in a football game in Wrexham for you'll probably know the date. I can't think. Well, it's never been in my lifetime.
It has, but I'm going to ignore that because there's a better argument if you say it wasn't.
When was it?
Who Mark Jones playing and Chris Llewellyn against New Zealand?
That's Liechtenstein. That's not a competitive game, is it?
Oh, competitive game.
Yeah.
Maybe you're right.
We played Liechtenstein in a friendly. We played Canada in a friendly. We played Trinidad and Tobago in a friendly, and we played Norway in a friendly as I've been alive. But they're friendlies. They're not anything that is worth noting.
Yeah, fair gone. I didn't catch that. I beg your pardon. Right. I mean, yeah, and it is important to have an international team with an adequate choice of stadium, and also, you know, this campaign is called Stadium for the North. The North does not get the funding and facilities the South does. This is an important thing for a local community and for a sort of semi-national community, if you like. It's important in a lot of areas. Should we hear what Mickey Thomas and Malcolm Malin had to say, do you think?
Let's do it.
From the heart of your community, this is Calon FM.
Well, hello, I'm Croeso Caras. Welcome to the Racecourse Ground. We're here today to launch a campaign, and we're going to be launching it in Welsh and in English. It's a bilingual campaign, and just to give you a brief introduction. Ym mis Gorffennaf, mae Cyngor Wrexham yn cyflwyno cais am arian codi'r gwastad mwyn datblygu y cae ras a'r cop yn arbennig, datblygu eisteddfa newydd yn y cop mwyn codi safon y lle yma i fod yn stadiwm rhyngwladol eto, stadiwm chwaraeon rhyngwladol, fel yma wedi bod yn y Gorffennol yn y gwybod. Ac i wneud hyn, da ni wedi cychwyn deiseb ar change.org, a da ni isio i bawb sydd yn teimlo bod isio stadiwm cenedlaethol yn y gogledd i lofnodi'r deiseb yma. Dyma'n cyfle ni rwan. We're starting a campaign today to support the Wrexham Borough Council to the government for levelling up funding to develop the racecourse, and in particular to develop a new stand on the Cobb over there, which will upgrade the facilities, which will bring the racecourse back to international stadium standard. To do that, we are starting a petition on change.org online, and it's going to be open. We hope everyone will turn to this petition, sign their names, and say, yes, we want a stadium again. We want an international stadium here in North Wales for the first time in so many years. And to help us, mae gennym ni ddau efo ni. So, famous, I don't need to introduction, but here they are, Malcolm Allen and Mickey Thomas, who have played on this hollow turf and are going to tell us what it means to them.
I don't know about famous, but thank you very much. I'm one part of the M&M. I'm just a fan, and I've got real good experience. I'm going to talk to you about in a little while on why I'm really, really keen and supportive of this new scheme that's hopefully going to happen to the cop there. But Mickey's a legend. I'm just more of a fan of Wrexham Football Club, of course. So I started off my career here at 10 years of age. My mum started when she was not even born, because she was born in Llanfynydd, up the road. I'm not going to actually do this in Welsh and English. I'm only going to do it in English. Whoever wants Welsh, I'll do it afterwards. Proud, and I siarad Gymraeg dipyn bach os da chi isio. Llanfynydd up the road in Coedpoeth there. My mum was born on a farm. My granddad was born on the farm opposite. And then he went off to the war. My nan then took my mum to Dainolin, where I was brought up years after. So I've got real closeness to racecourse here, where I was 10 years of age, standing in the cop. My granddad brought me to a first professional football match at the racecourse. At that time, they were in the championship, the second division, like it was then. And it was just a great day, and it was a part of the jigsaw in my head that I could live a dream. And I don't want any of them youngsters not to have that dream here in North Wales. Not just on the football front, but maybe on the sporting front. If this is going to be a sporting arena for North Wales, it can only be an advantage to all of us. So everybody who can support and vote, please get on board. There is no, I think with everything that's happening with Wrexham at the moment anyway, it's just, get on board so we can get this Cop turned into a 5,500 seater stadium. Then the criteria, we know the Cardiff City Stadium is all about the football games and the recent history we've had down there. But what about the history that's forever been at the racecourse? So we need to get some of that back, maybe even the friendly games for now. It's not a problem. Just get the international games back up here. And also the option of offering other sports here in North Wales with having, a 5,500 all-seater. Well, mostly it will be an all-seater stadium then. So it would be great to see. And that's what I've got to say, because of the emotions that really holds.
16,000.
There will be 16,000 in the end, but that's only 5,500, unless you've got another plan.
No, I'm talking about the rest.
All of it, and this place bouncing, like you've seen it this season. Can you imagine? You can only, but if you want to come in, efo 5,000 a hanner o seddi eraill di llenwi efo cefnogwyr o gwmpas fan hyn. Hey, come on, mae'r lle yma ar I fyny go iawn. Ac fydda i'n disgwyl, felly pob pwysleisio, mae rhaid dilyn I gyd ar Stadium for the North.
At Stadium North.
At Stadium North. I knew I'd get that bit wrong. Anyway, Mick, on Twitter you go. On Twitter, yeah.
Yeah, obviously what Malcolm just showed there, about the history of this football club. It's got a great history. I think many years ago, when I first ever came here, I think I was 11 years old, Wales against Scotland. We accept that, but we've been starved in North Wales. We want to see it come back to North Wales, because the people of North Wales deserve that. We have a great capture. Wrexham now 10,000 every game, etc. It's going to go bigger. With that Cop being built, I played here with 25, maybe 30,000. The atmosphere is incredible. To get that back, which they desperately want to get back, because it's a football ground that deserves it. And the people of Wrexham, are feeling the excitement now, the way the club is being run, and it's been great. The last few months has been exceptional. But I wanted to get back for a lot more reasons, because it's needed. Football in this North Wales is needed. I go to Cardiff like everyone else it's not easy for people down there. People can't afford it. A lot of people suffer that they can't afford to go and watch it in Cardiff. So I want to see it being brought back here and let the people have that enjoyment of seeing the Welsh national team. And as Malcolm said, this is because this ground has got everything for me. I'm not a little bit biased because I've got really a long association with it, but this is a beautiful football ground. It's got a great history. You know, and I played against Spain when the place was rocking, and they were a top team to beat them and that. You know, so I've got a great feel for this thing, and I'm not just the only one. The whole of the North Wales has got that feeling as well, and I want to get the balance where we get the opportunity to put the international team here at the racecourse.
Well, what I'm saying is that I just feel my dream started on the Cup when I was 10, when I saw the big picture in my head of being a professional footballer, coming to my first game, and then coming back here and having the red Welsh shirt against Holland, starting the game with a Welsh teammate, Ewan Roberts, both were speaking Welsh, and Ronald Koeman didn't have a chance in hell of understanding the word we were talking about. But it was just, my dream started here, and it became my pinnacle here in my Welsh, you know, in parts of my Welsh football caps, and it was a massive one because Dane Olin had closed down for the day. We had a bus of 52 people. I don't know how I got 52 tickets. I didn't get any from you. I know that. But you know, it's just a special place, and I hold it close to my heart for more than one reason.
And it's not just for us, it's about you as a group of people as well. It's your input that you can make what we're saying today that can give us
put it out there.
An opportunity to do that. You know, and everyone benefits. That's in Town Centre, everyone in North Wales benefits. But as I said, the most important thing, the youngsters that get the opportunity to come to this ground, like Gareth Bales, etc. You can't beat that. You can't.
Can I just say, you've seen the passion here now, and you've seen what it means to ex-players, but it means that to the whole of North Wales. Can I just pwysleisio rwan, be da chi'n gorau wneud ydy mynd ar Facebook neu ar Twitter, chwilio am Stadiwm i'r Gogledd, a fanna gwch chi link i ar change.org gefnogi'r cais yma gan Cyngor Wrexham. What we want you to do now is to take this opportunity to go on Facebook or Twitter, social media, look for Stadium for the North, Stadiwm i'r Gogledd, that's at Stadium North on Twitter. There you'll find everything you need to support this bid for upgrading the Kop, and let's hope we can get thousands and hundreds of thousands of names on that petition to go to the UK government.
Any other questions? Okay, so if you want to take, so individually, if you want to.
I'm Harry Lennon, and this is Dragonheart.
Go. Great to hear from Mickey and everyone else. Yeah, so important to get the Kop back. We want to see Jordan Davis score a debut goal for Wales at the racecourse. And Paul Mullin, why not?
Yes, exactly.
Well, we want to see these Wrexham players score in there, or even just represent their countries at the racecourse. It'd be absolutely special. Mark, just a quick one. Your favourite Kop memory?
My favourite Kop memory? Oh, it sounds like it's an Uncle Griff's bedtime story moment.
Uncle Griff's bedtime stories.
I just realised that Uncle Griff's bedtime story, if you have the acronym at the end of it, is BS. Anyway, I'll move on. I'm going to avoid the whole Mark Hughes volley against Spain, although, obviously. And I think I'm going to go for, I nearly broke my arm on the Kop once. And I'm going to tell you the story for the simple reason that I hope it'll cause a small amount of embarrassment for our colleague Andy Parkinson. I when I was in university, I'd go and watch, so if I couldn't go to a Wrexham game, I'd go on the Cop, watch Liverpool. And it was a really good sort of introduction into the art of jungle warfare. Because if you didn't look after yourself, you got thrown around like a shark flipping a seal up in the air. And there were certain key tactics that you had to establish. So you had to, when the crowd surged forwards, you had to jump on their backs. And they didn't mind because they knew you had to. And people behind you would jump on your back. And you didn't mind because you knew they had to. And that's how you could see the game. And then when the ball went back at the other ends, you'd all sort of surge backwards again. There were a number of skills like that. I tried other sneaky tactics, like standing in front of the crush barriers rather than behind them, which could work quite well because nobody can let you and push you around. And there was a huge Liverpool Arsenal game. There were the two teams at the top of the table at the time. And Andy came across to stay with me for the weekend, and we went and watched the match in the good old days where you could queue on the grounds and finally get in. And it was a hell of a game. And there's a famous goal in it where Steve McManaman chases the ball when it's going out, gets there just as it's crossing the line at full pelt, stamps his foot down on the ball, makes it stop on the line, and he can't stop himself. He careers into the crowd, bounces back, an Arsenal player's about to arrive. He nutmegs him, running back onto the pitch, rips in across. And I think it's Ian Rush scores, if I remember correctly. And when that happened, it was brilliant because I tried to give Andy the quick tuition on how to survive in these cop situations. But when that happened, I mean, the whole crowd went nuts, surging and everything. And I couldn't see him. Where's he gone? And I turned around and I saw in the, it's like the shore, the tide coming out and in again. The crowd had all surged forwards. We were right at the back of the cop. And I turned around and I could see in the empty steps of the back of the cop where everyone had surged forwards from, he was sitting with his back to the pitch, looking bewildered because he had just been flipped up in the air and dropped down again. I had to tell him what happened. But then I felt the fact that if you weren't used to being in a big crowd on a standing terrace, you didn't have those skills, came back to bite me on the Wrexham cop because I was standing, Wrexham playing Czech Republic. It was a qualifier for something or other. We drew 1-1, Rush scored. And I was stupidly standing to the side of a crush barrier. And when Rush scored at the cop end, people just went nuts, but in a less regulated way than they would do on the Liverpool cop. And some people surged forwards. And because I was standing next to the crash barrier, my arm got trapped on one side and pinned against the crash barrier. And my body was pulled away from it further down the cop. And I could feel my elbow hyperextending and going in the wrong direction. And I was thinking, oh, this isn't a good situation, this. I managed through a combination of being a slippery bloke and also super strength to just about wrestle my arm out before bones went snap. So that's my greatest memory on the cop, I've got to be honest, is I nearly lost an arm. I've just remembered a better memory though. Is that a different bedtime story? It probably is.
Uncle Griff's bedtime stories.
We'll have to do a cop memories thing. Mine's not like, I wouldn't say it's my best. I'd probably say either Boston or Chester for the first time when I went as a kid. I'm thinking, oh wow, this isn't a game I've ever been to before. But I'd say one of my favourite ones. It's a bit of a strange one, really, because I can't really pinpoint the exact game as it was, but it was just, I remember it being bitterly freezing. I'm pretty sure we were playing Scunthorpe the season after we went down from the LDV van. So I've got the year, and I remember being absolutely bitterly cold, and just sharing a hot chocolate with my mum. It was just me and my mum who went, and Mark Jones scored a last minute. I think he scored like a last minute goal, and there was barely anyone there because it was that cold. I'm sure it was snowing. So yeah, I think I just remember that the glimpses of that game. So that sort of memory of me, my mum, and about a few, even just 1,000, not even 1,000 people or even a couple hundred people on the car. and celebrating in the bitter cold. Yeah, it's little memories like that I miss of the Cop, really.
I like that. That's nice, isn't it? The personal touch is brilliant. And there was much less violence in your story than mine, and yet mine is the one that gets marketed as a bedtime story.
There was violence. From what I can remember, is Mark Jones scored an absolute screamer like he always used to.
Yeah. Oh, that's nice. That's cool.
Yeah, but yeah, I remember that game because it was just. I just remember being so cold and wearing about a billion layers. I must have looked like the Michelin Man walking into the game, and having that hot chocolate, holding on to the hot chocolate. It was dear life. I was using it to keep me warm rather than actually drinking it.
Yeah.
But I just remember coming away from that game either winning it, and we were pretty bog standard at that time, thinking, yeah, that was brilliant. That's always a memory that'll stick with me. Yeah, and how special that Cop is. And the ground has not been the same since it's gone, really. So it's so important. So as this roundup now, we need to, everyone who's listening to this podcast, anyone who's a Wrexham fan, please sign that petition. It's vitally important that we get our Cop back. It's vitally important that we get international football. So the young youth generation, the young guns, the 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10-year-olds can go watch Wales in their back garden and don't have to travel ridiculous miles on a Tuesday night to watch us play Azerbaijan, like I did when I was about 8 years old, and getting home at 3 a.m. Kids shouldn't have to do that. They should be able to watch us locally, and I truly believe that, Mark.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Amen to that.
Please, everyone, listen to or follow everything. Follow all the social media platforms. Hopefully, it's the last game on commentary on Sunday. Please listen to that Wrexham player. Yeah. Thank you very much. I've really enjoyed this one, Mark.
Brilliant stuff, Chay, as always. Fantastic. And I'll store up that other story, but it does involve the Wolverhampton goalkeeper's trousers. I will say that. We will do that next episode. Anyway, this has been Dragonheart.
I'm Dan Jarvis, and this is Dragonheart.